Hi, folks. I'm here with Scott and Mary, and this is the first Rogue Political Orphan podcast.
Ladies first.
Hi, I'm Mary, and I'm a political orphan. For me, a political orphan is someone whose political ideologies can't be categorized because they don't align fully with either the left or the right. We're not conservatives, we're not liberals, but
Sometimes hopeless.
Right, we embrace and reject elements from both those schools of thought. So we're not politically apathetic, but we don't have any port to call home.
Underserved, you'd say? That's kind of the way I feel.
Yeah. Underrepresented. We get it from both sides. When I share my opinions with my liberal friends, they think I'm a conservative, and when I share my opinions with my conservative friends, they think I'm a dumb liberal. So, what the heck? So it's hard these days if you don't have one of the mainstream political ideologies as your belief set. It can be unfriendly out there for you, but I want to take this opportunity to reach out to all those people in Southern Oregon who I know are just like me. You hate that side and you hate that side and you're sick of the polarization in society. Yeah. And I want to call on you guys to get active in your community because we are the bridge builders and the peacemakers. We see it from both sides. And we can be that person that stands in the gap and brings two schools of thought together and find ways where we can work together.
I feel that.
I'm already kind of out of my element here because you're like super debate person, speech prepared person, and
I was just gifted a big mouth.
Me too.
I
feel that too.
Jack of all trades, but I can talk. Yeah. So.
Oh man, think about political orphan. You know that old saying about democracy is two wolves and a lamb trying to decide what to have for dinner, right? A lot of people. That's another discussion, but. For 20 years, I didn't vote this last November. Can I say that, or we get cut off if I say November? I mean, goodness, probably get banned.
I don't have a problem with it.
No, yeah, I just know. Anyway, it was the first time I voted in almost 20 years because I genuinely felt like that. Like, no matter what vote I cast, I just didn't feel like it mattered. I felt like I thought the best way at the time to deal with the system was just to not play in the system, was to remove myself from it.
The only way to win is not to play the game.
And that's really what I felt because I was dealing with, the richest candidate was the one that was the most popular, was the one getting most advertisement, and then they're the ones hitting the primaries, and then from there, only a few states even really selected what was going on. I just felt totally disconnected from the whole thing. And then, what happened over the past 4 years really rallied. It kicked in some of my common sense, kicked in some of my critical thinking background, and I went, so I started to pay attention. But until then, none of it made sense. I didn't even see a point. I didn't.
I feel that too. I was raised by my mother and my dad, who I would say were conservative, non-practicing Christians, but lots of exposure to my grandmother, a school teacher, and my grandfather, and he owned a Chevrolet dealership. And my grandfather was an Eisenhower Democrat, and my grandmother was a Reagan Republican, and they canceled each other's votes till the day my grandfather died, happily and in love. And I've always kind of felt that, and that I have mostly conservative views. I mean, people here know I'm a gun toter, and I like 4x, and I like a lot of things that people associate with being conservative, but also feel like I wasn't served. So I've never committed to a party. I've been an independent, and they are the wheels that they maybe grease the gears. In that, like during election season, if you're an independent, everybody's coming to your door. You're on a list, and I never felt terribly attracted to anybody that was standing on my in my driveway telling me about their politics.
Well, I never trusted the stuff they were saying anyway. I mean, It was obvious. Like, you're just saying one thing, and then the moment you get elected, you go off and you do something else. And I just had no value. I held no value for the people anyway. So
I think they're all a bunch of lying crooks. I mean, there's only two reasons why people get into politics.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Well, I don't even think it's a feeling. I think we can. It's a fact. I don't want to say
billions of dollars raised for elections while we fight over what part of school's going to stay open, whether there'll be a music program or anything like that. It's pretty disgusting. I'd like to see 50% of what they make donated back to the public good in some way for kids or otherwise. But where do we go from here when Republicans are often tired of rhinos, Republicans in name only, and I have Democrat friends that are tired of the screeching and burning things and that kind of stuff. I think where we go from here is having honest discussions, and that's why you guys are here, Rogue Political Orphans.
Right, and if you, at least for me, if you hear me say something that you vehemently disagree with, and you, first of all, I'm not really married to my beliefs. They've changed a lot over the years.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more I know I don't know. So if you hear me say something that you think is fundamentally flawed and you really believe that the world needs to hear your opinion, I invite you to reach out and talk to me. I'll talk to anyone. I'll talk to anyone, man. If your heart is to make this world a better place and you love your fellow humans, then we already have something in common.
Totally okay to disagree. How you move forward is...
Let's go communication.
It makes a difference between the screeching and the arguing and all the crap that's online and the stuff that's like depressing in the news. I just want to know my community and get along with my community and find points that we can move forward on together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of opportunities for people of all ideological backgrounds here in the Valley to come together. We saw that happen with the Alameda fire.
Absolutely.
And the other fires. Were you looking to see whose political bumper sticker was on the car that dropped off the donations for the fire victims?
Nor who was picking it up.
Yep. No, nobody cared. Why? Because we were all one community. And we need to go back to that. And I hope that it doesn't take another catastrophe to get us back to that position, because that's sad. We should be able to do that ourselves.
You got to turn off your TVs and stuff like that. And one of the best things I've ever heard you say, and I love it, is it's like, people talk about taking back the Republican Party. Need to take back the Democrat Party too.
I think that
it's amazing. It's just we the people.
Yeah,
We need to take back the parties.
Period.
Being an independent, I don't get to decide who's up there. Obviously, I'm not voting in the primary. It's always going to be one of two very rich people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
And people that are very refined, so refined that I can't tell if they're telling me the truth.
Yeah.
Right. Now, on that point, as far as like how do we move forward, big picture stuff, I think that's something that most everybody would agree with is there's only two kind of people that get into politics: those that genuinely have a heart to serve their communities.
I'm sorry, did you just say genuinely? Where are you from?
Genuinely. And then megalomaniacs who lust after power and control. And who do you think wins? The guy with integrity?
Power, money, and control. Boy, you can get a pretty good book deal after being a congressman, can't you?
Yes, seriously.
A lot of people say the book deals are your payoffs, but that's another subject.
Right. So I think the way to move forward with that, to get rid of those kind of people, is we need to castrate those positions of their power.
Castrate?
And
That's
like
brutal.
neuter them, like get rid of it.
We'll slide over a little bit.
Term limits and campaign finance
Protect yourself
reform
up there.
is, I think, a bipartisan issue that we can, not even a bipartisan issue, we can all get behind term limits and campaign finance reform. Nancy Pelosi, she's been in office 33 years. In the last 17, she's made like 71 million, over 30, which has come from stocks her and her husband traded of the big tech companies.
The people that divide us the most stay in power the longest.
Right?
Divide and
Mitch
conquer.
McConnell, he's at 35, 36. Cocaine Mitch. All right, so like it's both sides of the aisle. These are not meant to be careers.
No.
And when you see people who've been in office for decades and they're making tens of millions of dollars in the meantime,
Their net worth's increasing every year they're in office.
dumb.
Thomas Jefferson wanted us to come serve for a few years and then go back to our farms and fields. George Washington was like, that's all for me. A couple terms. I'm good. I'm going to go back to my farm. Whatever you're farming, you need to go back to it if you've been in politics that long.
Well, then we get into the revolving door between corporate America and the United States government. The whole thing has just gotten so far removed from any sort of normalcy, just any sort of common sense, for heaven's sake. I mean, how about there was the cussing thing? You got the beep beep. You had to hit me because I censored myself on that one. But man, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It should be. How do I say this? So when there's a fire, when there's a tragedy, people come together, none of this stuff matters, right? But then all of a sudden we go back to watching our TV, we go back to drinking our sodas, we go back to doing what we do, and we completely compartmentalize again. The human mind is compartmentalized anyway. And so it's very easy to go back to our social norms and hang with our same people we always hang with.
Complacency, sure.
Yeah. And it's, growth is a really interesting discussion. It's a very challenging discussion to actually grow and pursue and continue to move through life and learn something new. How many people, man, when I went back to North Carolina a couple years ago, I went back for Christmas, and there was people I had seen 15 years earlier, people I grew up with, still doing the same job, still living the same day over and over and over. And so how easy is it to go back to our normal beliefs when it is to forget we had a fire last year? How many people still think about the fire last year? The only reason they think about it is because we might start another one. Like, no. Why don't we take all of that we built and let's move forward with that? There's a level of apathy there, and that's a psychology discussion, but yeah, it gets off track.
Yeah, we're a nation of bread and circuses,
Yeah, and it's so easy to get caught up in your own life, working, raising kids, keeping the roof paid for, keeping the groceries on the table. And in Southern Oregon, people like to recreate. You can raft, you can mountain climb, ski. There's so much to do here.
5 recreational rivers, always an hour and a half. Ooh.
If you're like I know you know about skateboarding, Mary. If you're a really good skateboarder, why would you stop doing that and play in politics at all? Does that sound attractive to somebody that skateboards? But do skateboarders discuss this stuff in depth? They do around the campfire or with each other. Mm-hmm. How do we get everybody to get involved? Because we the people, like we're always talking about, we the people are the only ones that can change it if it's going to be different.
Well, I think that it's gotten, the political climate has gotten so polarized and so volatile that a lot of people that aren't loyal to a political party, I swear allegiance to no political party or politician. You kind of have to step back from the noise. It's dreadful on your mental health to constantly hear the contention and the fighting and then the infighting and the bickering and the name calling and the spin from all sides. It really takes a toll. And if you get caught up in the illusion which has been created by mainstream media and Hollywood and social media, if you get caught up in the illusion that the world is a flaming dumpster fire and no one's redeemable, you can get really, really, really low. Yep. And so I understand why people pull away, especially political orphans, the unaffiliated, because there's no spot for us. We're loathed by all sides of the divide. And then there isn't a whole lot of action we can do when the power rests with the two major political parties. And that's why I say, so get involved in those two major political parties and take it back.
And that's a lot of work, though.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a lot of work.
It is. It is, but
it's necessary.
Here's the call. Rome was once an empire that spanned over half the world. So much of our culture comes from that empire 2,000 years ago, and it fell pretty fast. And if you don't think it can happen here, then you're a fucking idiot that didn't pay attention in history class.
Right? No. You think about the media for a minute. Now, this is a little effort with 20 some people that's trying to build Southern Oregon first. Have some shows about current things that people want to talk about and embrace the community and get them involved. But think about the mainstream media. Where's that money come from that keeps everybody paid and corporations making money in mainstream media? It comes from advertising. Now, where does who spends the advertising money? Businesses, right? That need to have what? Visibility. And aside from the businesses, politicians. The best months are political election months for the media. The advertising purchased is huge. That's where all those donations go, folks. So when you add those two things together, what do the buyers, the politicians and the businesses need from the media?
Ratings.
Yeah, they need ratings. And what drives ratings? Negativity. Bad stuff drives media.
Emotion.
That's right. Yeah. So the more they can outrage people, the more money they're going to get, because the more ratings they're going to get. It's a broken system. And we've allowed politicians and the Hollywood elite to become our kings and queens. After 250 years ago, we chased off the kings and queens. So we just got lax, and we got to get everybody back.
And the amount of research, market research, that goes into consumer psychology that goes into what you shop for, what makes you tick. How can I get you off that couch and get you to the store? I mean, take, for example, the end cap at the grocery store. The amount of money that goes into the simple psychology and the packaging to get so that you will go to that end cap and purchase that. I mean, the whole thing. That's why the milk is in the back of the store. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So you walk through the store. That is coming full force, billions of dollars through the TV screen. But what you don't understand is while watching that TV, your brain is more susceptible. I should say your mind is more susceptible